Welcome, people of the world. This is GT Time. I'm your host/moderator, Kyle Bossman, and joining us, as always, a uniquely talented and knowledgeable panel, including Brandon Jones.
Hello.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Yeah.
And sitting in for Michael Damiani is Justin Spear.
Hey, guys.
Justin, thanks for joining us. Late notice.
You're welcome.
He said, I think 15 minutes ago, begrudgingly, yeah, I'll be on your podcast.
Yeah.
That's not how it went at all.
Damiani did cancel way late notice, though, to your credit. That was awful.
Yeah, and he knew way in advance that he would not be able to make that time.
Oh, don't tell me that. That's just going to make me furious. You may, if you're watching the video portion of this podcast, you might see that our walls are adorned with art. This is because me and Damiani were at FanimeCon, and Ben, actually. Damiani was walking around, and this guy recognized him and said, hey, man, I really like GT Time. Can I give you some art? And so we got some art. This is all from Vince Price. You can find him at immp.deviantarts.com.
And how weird is it to have somebody just walk up to you like that? Because I happened to me this weekend too. Like I was doing production at a concert, and this guy was like, "Hey, are you Bloodworth?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Just out and
just a guy in the crowd.
It happens way more at conventions than in real life. That's crazy to me. And what did you say? You said, "Yeah, I'm."
Yeah. I talked to him for a little bit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It's so fun. It's weird to think that people enjoy what you do.
And are watching you right now.
Yeah, whether you're watching us or listening right now, thank you. We always appreciate that. And thank you, Vince. Thanks for making our walls look good for a week at least. And I think it's time. We're a little time crunch today because we're pre-E3. It's all a busy mess. Let's get down to the big news.
Big news.
Oh, no, I can't do big news yet because we have to do corrections.
Oh
my gosh. Start the correction music.
It's not my fault I wasn't here.
So to everyone with Games with Gold for Xbox Live, if you have an Xbox 360 and then cancel your gold, you get to keep your games. If you have an Xbox One and cancel your gold, you do not get to keep your games. That is the distinction and the correction music.
We're going to talk about that every episode.
It seems I keep making mistakes about that.
What games Xbox has and what,
I think that's it. I think that's like the final. I don't think I'll ever make another mistake about that.
You don't have Xbox Live Gold. You don't have to worry about any of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true as well. The big news this week, both the Order 1886 and Quantum Break were delayed out of 2014.
Quite predictably.
Quite predictably?
Yeah.
Bloodworth, what do you mean quite predictably?
Okay, Quantum Break.
Uh-huh.
Do you not remember Alan Wake and how long that game took to come out?
Yes, I do remember that.
And that game is a good game. I'm not going to say it's a bad game or anything. But when you look at that game, you're like, what took so long?
It was, the game that you saw was a very different game from the game that it ended up being. So I assume it just went through multiple phases of, oh, you know what, that idea sucks. Let's keep moving on. Are you saying that's happening in Quantum Break right now?
Probably. I just feel like, they just kind of iterate until they figure out what they want to do. And then the Order, I mean that may be a surprise for some people, but for me, like when me and Jeremy saw that a couple months ago, it was like, it's like, oh, well, this looks good, but it's really rough. So
what was rough about it specifically?
Just like, like frame rates and stuff like that. And it did not look like a game that you would put in front of random people to play.
Do you think it was delayed because of your reactions last month?
No, I don't think so necessarily. I think that's just the state that it's in right now.
Justin.
Yeah.
These two games, will they affect the sales of their consoles, do you think, in this fall?
I don't know if it's that's still, a thing, like if you need games to do it.
Sure.
If you wanted one of these next gen consoles, maybe. Yeah, for me, I don't have one. Those games would not personally change my mind.
What would?
But
okay. But what?
But nothing.
No, what would change your mind? What kind of game would you be interested in? If not,
I don't know.
Break or the Order?
I just wait for the one weird game, that strikes my fancy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, happy to, play.
Strike
play
a fancy.
There's none.
Sure, yeah.
There's no games.
So this
Well,
news.
I'm glad that we have these things at work. I
Right.
enjoyed checking out Killer Instinct and enjoyed checking out all the launch software. But yeah, in terms of sales, I think that's a little tough to predict.
Yeah,
It's like console sales.
I think
what is a system
Exactly.
seller? Do system sellers actually
well,
exist?
but I do think, like, just from what we've seen with the sales on Infamous and Watch Dogs, like, people are hungry for anything
Infamous
they
did
can get on those
extremely-
systems.
Extremely well. It came out at an extremely good time for those guys.
Yeah.
So
Brandon, do you believe in the word system seller anymore?
Yeah, I think these are very weird games. I don't think these games are necessary. I think these games are kind of unproven. Like, not really sure how the order is going to play. I know that you've seen that, and we know it's a third-person cover shooter with monsters and stuff. But like crazy monster abilities, is that going to be more Left 4 Dead, or is that going to be like, there's still a lot we haven't seen about that game. And I just think the premise of it is still kind of unproven for me. Just kind of how far that steampunk aesthetic goes. Like, if this is reality and this isn't, kind of where does it bridge between the two of them? And Quantum Break is extremely confusing because we don't know like where the show ends and the game begins. And the game, it's just one of those games where they show something, we've got a tease today, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's like the the split second, what's the show from like the 80s where the girl could like put her fingers together and pause time.
I have no idea what that is.
Freeze time. Wasn't that like the...
I forget what that is.
Girl from the future, space or something?
So it was sci-fi. It wasn't magic.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was like a sitcom, but they were aliens and they had like weird magical powers and stuff.
Ryan,
You're
would.
totally,
I'm
you
sure
make
that
me nostalgic, but I
watched
can't remember
the
the
So
name
in the
of
intro,
it.
like the ladder falls over and they're like, oh, the paint's going to fall on the floor, and she pauses and like the paint's in midair and she's like...
Sure.
Look, we
That would
can
explain
freeze
all those
time
weird
now
things
on
that keep
television.
happening around GT.
But it seems
one
too good to be
bucket of
true that
paint.
you can actually, at any moment, in any point of the Quantum Break, freeze time. It's like, no, obviously it's going to be kind of a canned thing where like you can freeze time now and walk around this environment, but it has to be the specific moment.
Oh, bummer. Really?
So both of those games I just need to see so much more of. So yeah, when you have a game in that state, it's not surprising, I think, when it gets pushed back. But I definitely believe in the concept of a system seller.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that either of those. I mean, they could be system sellers, but I think it's more a little bit worrisome because it's like, okay, well, now what's in that space, right?
Right.
Because Drive Club will be in that space, but Drive Club and The Order are not appealing to the same people whatsoever.
And by this space, you mean fall 2014.
Yeah, early fall.
Yeah. Justin, what is left in the fall?
I don't know. I'd need to check a release calendar.
Well, I realize, like...
Yeah, I mean, we'll see a lot at E3.
Not a
Exactly.
lot obvious that we know
Batman.
of right now.
Batman, well, maybe there's rumors Batman might get delayed. That's the scariest
God.
thing. I know, exactly. I don't like talking about it before E3 because so much is announced at E3, but right now it looks like it could be like a pretty skimpy fall, which would be a bummer.
Yeah. And Smash Brothers is like right on that weird edge. Like, oh, December. Like, what, December?
Winter is what all they
Oh,
give
yeah,
us.
yeah, winter.
Yeah, which would have to be December because that's the only winter month in the year, I think.
Yeah.
Next huge story. I think we only have good news for the rest of the show, which I'm really
Okay.
excited about. Watch Dogs becomes best-selling first-day Ubisoft game, selling more in its first 24 hours than any other Ubisoft game in all of Ubisoft history.
Which part of me is a little annoyed by.
What are you annoyed by?
Because all of these people took to the internet last week,
Okay.
complaining about the review embargo, right? And it's like, I worked like through the night over the weekend, and like we were like pushing it. Like we got the review done like maybe, like 6 or 7 hours before it needed to go up. So it's like that's one of the cases where like a review embargo is just like making sure like all of us could get it done on time. Now of course like when they ship it to us would be a different can of worms, but it's like if you guys all bought it on the first day anyways, like you guys were you really waiting for reviews? You just
Right.
get your pre-order DedSec edition or whatever,
So you feel personally insulted that all these people wouldn't wait until seeing the reviews until they would buy the game.
I mean, not so much that, but it's just that they would like that there'd be such like a trend of people complaining about it. Like all these people like talking about it, and it's like, well, I guess you're all going to buy the game anyway.
I'm sorry,
right?
Specifically, what were they complaining about? Just that we had to wait
That it was
until
like,
that day
yeah,
for
that
it
it
to
was
come
like
out?
deceptive to be able to sell the game when the reviews aren't out there and that kind of thing.
That's very funny. Yeah, release day embargos, I guess, are a different
I mean,
thing.
I don't like them at all.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was sort of like, well, we didn't have any time to get it out sooner anyways.
Brandon, can you see this game being the best-selling Ubisoft game as sort of a bad encouragement to keep doing all of that weird pre-order stuff, like the whole pre-order grid? And do you know what I mean? Like, and probably day one embargoes for reviews as well. They got both of those things best-selling ever. They're kind of encouraged to do those wrong things
Day one
again.
embargoes have been around, for a billion years. It's just
The worst
a
ones
call
are
they make.
the worst
per
ones
game.
are the 9 a.m. ones. But I think Watch Dogs is just so hyped that people were like, wait,
Well,
why is
a
this
lot
happening?
of marketing. for
Yeah.
Watch Dogs, right? Is it just marketing that made the difference, or?
Yeah, I think people just finally wanted the damn game. I think they just had to wait for so long.
2 years,
And
yeah.
so, the concept of like, well, this is definitely a game on my list. You know, it's like a long ages ago when we were thinking of next gen and all of these games we were excited to play. It was one that was not just like a pipe dream. It was a game we'd seen a lot of gameplay of, and we're like, okay, we're ready to go. Checked it off my list, pre-ordered it.
I'm scared though that exactly like I feel like those 9 different versions of this game kind of influenced its sales. Those day one sales at least. We're not saying it's the best selling Ubisoft game ever. It's the best day one ever, and I think part of that is those 9 different versions of the game.
No idea.
That's a little scary, right? But to me, it is also like why? Like we look at this and say why? Why did it sell better than any of the Assassin's Creed sequels?
Has guns in it. Real guns. Not guns that take 10 seconds to fire.
Yeah, well, so does Far Cry. Far Cry's got guns.
That's true.
But again, I mean, going back to what we were saying before, like I think it's this is even though it's not explicitly for next gen, it's people have all so many people have bought into the PS4 and the Xbox One, and there's like, I want a game.
Yeah.
Like as long as this game is decent, I will buy it, and I think that's kind of the attitude people are taking.
Well, other than Infamous and Titanfall, what are the next-gen games that have really made a splash so far since the launch of the PS4 and Xbox One?
Right. I mean,
Or like those big games. This is the first like cross-platform big. Okay, this is why I bought a PS4. This is why I bought an Xbox One.
Sure.
To play this next-gen game, which I haven't played yet, but.
Yeah, and I think it might still be like that GTA effect. I think people just like that sort of game. GTA. What's up?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. But I mean, this is kind of like the opposite of a system seller. It's people have these systems and they're like, I got to buy these games. Just
System
give me
validator.
some games.
Yeah.
System
It's not-
validator is a great
Right.
phrase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin, there's a rule: you may not apologize on this show.
I may not.
No.
I'm sorry I broke
No,
the
you
rules.
sorry you can't do
I
that.
apologize.
You can't do that.
No apologies. You should have told me beforehand. This is the last minute. I'm filling in, just doing the best I can.
When is Watch Dogs 2 going to happen? Soon, or do you think they'll take their time on that?
They got to squeeze some DLC out of that thing first.
I do think they do. I think it's probably going
yeah,
to be
they have
like
a season pass.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in it.
And much like a GTA, they sold well. They should just kind of work on this one for a while, I feel like.
And this is Ubisoft. Would we get Watch Dogs Revelations or
Sure, you're right.
Well, I
Watch
mean,
Dogs Brotherhood?
I mean, by the time you get to the end, I feel like this is sort of set up as an origin story.
Are you doing spoilers right now?
I wish that guy died at the end of the game.
I don't know that
Yeah,
it's
I'd
a
like to play a Watch Dogs.
I
with
mean,
a new- with
I
a
don't
new
think
dude
that
in
it's a
it.
spoiler to say that like they've invested this much hype into something they're going to make a franchise out of.
Absolutely not. But I'm very encouraged. It's cool to see a new IP be Ubisoft's best-selling first day ever.
Yeah.
That's cool to see.
It's too bad it's not Child of Light, but
Right. Well, they can't all win. Huge, crazy story to me this week. Sony announced that regular people of the United States of America, and Canada even, can go to a movie theater.
North America, that's called.
Thank you, Justin. There's part of North America that's not Canada
Mexico.
and U.S. Yeah, so those are 2 countries within North America. You can go to a movie theater and watch Sony's press conference live with a bunch of other people for free.
yeah.
I see some enthusiastic head nodding.
Will there be snacks?
You have to buy your own snacks. Blood, why are you so excited about this?
This goes back to what we were talking about with Nintendo not having a press conference. Like it was like, oh, if you don't have Nintendo Direct, then you're kind of just like sitting and watching a chat stream or something. Like this is like something that people should probably put out there a long time ago. It's like, yeah, get all your fans together, get everyone hyped in the same room and screaming and everything and high-fiving each other and
You're making me excited. I wish that
Yeah,
that
if all
I
that
could
stuff
do
happens. Not
Yeah.
every press conference goes that
Think
way.
how many more high fives we're going to get. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. Brandon, you seem real excited too.
Yeah, I want it to be a big event. I think I remember seeing Star Wars when it was re-released in theaters, and they were like when R2-D2 falls over in the Jawa shoot him. Like me and my friends like exploded in laughter, and I was like, "That's not funny." What? I've seen that scene a billion times, but it just was different being in this this electric room of all of these people being excited.
Absolutely.
And so you amplify the excitement by everybody being around each other, and then that means people were more excited. They're going to talk about it more. They're going to be talking between theaters. And
there's going to be a group of guys
taking
with
pictures of
beanies
themselves,
that all
having
sit
fun
on one
and-
row.
Yeah,
Like,
cosplay.
who takes a picture of themselves watching the Sony press conference in their living room, like in front of the TV?
Right, but they'll
Or it's
definitely-
like, yeah, of course, like going and
They'll tweet it.
maybe playing a game there,
Let's
having
share.
posters or something. Or
It gives me a little bit of hope that maybe if they realize, hey, we're going to put this in theaters, let's not have a boring one. Let's not,
absolutely.
let's bring some big stuff and, have a good showing. So, yeah, that gives me a little bit of encouragement for that we might not have another just dull, okay.
And prizes.
Sales are pretty good. We've sold a good number of next-gen consoles. Let's talk about the Vita for a while. Maybe they'll do something. Last Guardian this year.
Yeah,
it's gotta happen.
And can you imagine being in the theater when something like The Last Guardians announces it? Like, to me, that's really cool. Tickets are free, so Sony is spending.
Tickets are free.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sony's spending a lot of money on this, reserving out theater space just to let people come and watch their commercials for free. That's pretty crazy to me, and it is. It's about, I guess, that liveness that is why they justify the cost of that, which is pretty cool.
Well, they community outreach was kind of how they were able to win the day last E3. So it's them. This is probably what is coming out of them obviously getting together after it and being like, okay, that worked. What do we do? What happened? Was it just Jack? Was it something else? What? Everybody really likes us right now. What happened?
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, we had a party with our fans, and so that's what they want to do again. So, hopefully people get excited. Hopefully, I wonder if it's going to be like the Olympics or like Eurovision when they're like, here's everyone in Australia. Oh, you said it was just North America and Canada, but it's like, here's Quebec, and they're like, all these guys and the Maple Leafs and
I wonder if they'll give out stuff. They can give people stuff. They can do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. I did one. Actually, I just remembered this. When Uncharted 3 came out, they did a kind of similar thing where you could buy Uncharted 3 and then you go to a movie theater to watch this weird stuff for Uncharted 3, and then they send it to you early. That's the reason I did it. I got Uncharted 3 a week early. But it was this weird thing where it's just a bunch of people who are in a theater, not watching a movie, but are watching Uncharted 3 stuff together. That was so strange. Jeff was there. Jeff Keighley was there. Man, it's to me, a gathering of that in a movie theater is just such a unique thing. How could you not go to it?
Yeah.
Well, if you sleep in.
Yeah.
That's how you not go. It's real simple.
It's late though.
Well, I don't think it's gonna be 6 p.m. or something like that.
Still.
6 p.m. East Coast. No, 9 p.m. East Coast, 6 p.m. Pacific Coast. Yeah. Go to it. Tell us how it is.
I'm not going to be at either.
Yeah,
I'm going to be at the actual event or in a movie theater.
I'll high-five you, though.
We're going to get the worst E3 ever.
No, I'll high-five
out of
you.
anybody. Some guy in Quebec's going to be having a better E3 than me.
Not that he doesn't deserve to, though. You know what I mean? That's what's cool.
I'm not so
is
sure
just
about
I mean, it really is like having
French
the
Canadians
press
like Aiden
conference
Pierce.
experience.
Cool bunch of guys. Very charming.
Battlefield Hardline was leaked and announced this week. That was a cool thing. Battlefield Hardline is a Battlefield game that's basically cops and robbers, we learned this week. Made by Visceral, which was rumored for a long time. Basically, it was rumored that Visceral's working on a police Battlefield game. It's like, okay, kind of cool. But the idea that I get to be robbing a building, to me, is really exciting. Do you think the leak hurt its reveal this week? Justin?
I don't know. It's pretty standard stuff where something's like, oh, guess we got to announce it now.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I think
really
that's kinda
matter.
what happened.
I don't think it matters so much how it comes out. It's just when it comes out and then what people's response is. And I guess this one is, I hadn't heard a ton of people talking about it. I guess it's kind of interesting. But Battlefield, probably just calling it Battlefield, you got to have a big name to stick on something. You want to do something new.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to.
can.
I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Actually, is it doesn't seem like a Battlefield game. Battlefield to me is strongly based on having a large battlefield with vehicles you get into, and just the vastness of it is kind of what makes that franchise.
Well, it feels like there's a lot of vehicle-based stuff in it. It's just, it's more in like a urban or suburban type setting.
Right. So do you think it's a good
cars.
idea to call this a Battlefield game, or do you think that's just a necessary, to push out an original game for EA, it's best to just call it Battlefield, and you still get an original game, just has that name.
Yeah, it's weird because it does put a certain expectation on it that I don't know really makes sense. But then it's, I don't know. You kind of have it both ways. It's because if they didn't call it Battlefield, but it's that closely based off the Battlefield engine, then people are like, well, they just reskinned Battlefield. You know.
Honestly, when I think of Battlefield, I associate it with Frostbite and with walls exploding and buildings exploding. So, to me, even though it's it's a military thing and it's the alternative to Call of Duty, I do really associate that with a certain kind of tech and a certain kind of gameplay that involves making holes in things, blowing stuff up. Vehicles, but I guess they could at least have cars, right?
Yeah.
If anyone else wants to play something with cars in it that's cool, where criminals shoot each other, Sub Rosa. But when you look at it, you'll probably laugh.
I'm sorry, what did you just pitch to us? What is that?
It's a game called Sub Rosa, and I can't take the time to explain it, and it's pretty weird.
It looks like Minecraft, right? Isn't it like super
It does.
simple?
It's pretty blocky,
Yeah, I remember
but
that,
it's a
yeah.
super interesting game, and I think they probably should. The guy puts another. The developer's called Cryptic Sea. They put another version of it up every once in a while.
What do you like about
Check
this
it out.
game?
I don't want to get too much into it because it's tough to explain. But
No,
basically,
it's
have
too late. You
different
brought it
groups.
up. We got to get
You
into
have
it now.
different groups. You have suitcases. Sometimes suitcase has money. Sometimes it has a disc. You're trying to do something on the map, and the other people are trying to take it. And based on what you have and whether you're able to get back to your base, you get score. So sometimes you want to trade with another team, but then another
cool.
guys come in to try to mess up the deal.
Yeah.
Just a lot of super cool scenarios.
It's called Sub Rosa?
Sub Rosa
Okay.
has some espionage connotations.
Yeah, this appeal to me of like good guys versus bad guys, cops versus robbers is just like I'm more interested in this Battlefield game than any of the others, and
Yeah, I'm really into blurring that line between you're a good guy and I'm a bad guy, but there's still parts of the game where we can maybe work together, and there's maybe some areas of the map where we can fight and some where we can't, and I like that you kind of mixing where like you have something to do, I have something to do, or we could just kill each other. And so you never know.
Yeah.
So when you see someone, you have this kind of weird standoff where it's like, should I bother trying to fight you, or should I just get the money and get out of here? Yeah, that sounds like fun. And I think, a Battlefield's a battlefield. I think I'm always a fan. I think we're going to see more of this as I wouldn't necessarily say Battlefield's an open world game, but like their maps generally are really big compared to something like Call of Duty. They focus more on like vehicles and stuff, and like it'd be interesting in the new generation to see them maybe get a little more intimate, and instead of having just this huge environment, have more people focused on a smaller environment, but make it more dynamic, make there be more missions you can accomplish in a small space.
I like this wild
more ways the
speculation.
same scenario.
Yeah.
This game's sounding pretty awesome that we don't know much about it.
Justin, this is my favorite part of the show is the wild speculation. To me, that's part of the fun of like a video game announcement is like talking about all the things that it could be. Do you know? And I feel like this one, I got a lot of hope for this
Well,
game.
you saw the stuff too about it being kind of, quote unquote episodic with like cliffhangers or whatever, and then you can play the episodes out of order or replay episodes when you want. It's kind of, the single player sounds different as well.
Okay, cool. Episodic means you shouldn't play it out of order, though, doesn't it? Why would you want to do that?
I don't know. But
Grind XP or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where it becomes back into a video game.
Unlock some different masks.
Yep.
Shinier badges.
So another funny like leak situation that's happening this week is, and through the past we've even talked about it on this show. Ed Boon, he's having a blast teasing his next Mortal Kombat game. He's on Twitter. He's not being shy. He changed his logo to a really sweet Mortal Kombat dragon, and his background says "Who's next?" And that ties very closely into something that was leaked on Reddit. Was a poster that showed like a shattered spine that said "Who's next?" So he's like owning up to that poster. Ed Boon is doing everything he can to tell us he has a new Mortal Kombat. And Brandon, I wanted your perspective on this because when we talked about the new Call of Duty game, and all we had seen is a cheek, and it's like here's our next Call of Duty game. You see a cheek, and you went off on that. You were so disappointed that that's the way that they chose to like deliver their game for the first time. I'm curious how you feel about this kind of thing, where Ed Boon has, in a way, told us, "Hey, look forward to Mortal Kombat. It exists." Do you like that kind of like teasing?
I think it's a different scenario with this because it is tied to a person.
Yeah.
And that person is Mortal Kombat. That person is so closely tied to this. So if like, if Miyamoto was like dropping little Pikmin 4 hints or something, like I wouldn't hold that against him. I'd be like, he has every right to do that. He can do whatever the heck he wants. But if a company at large, tries to be like, oops, here's this image. How did that happen? Then it's, that kind of stuff is But it's like you described it really well, like the way you were saying it, where he has these assets, he just can't sit on them.
Right.
It's just too damn exciting for it. He wants to get that stuff up. And he doesn't care. And it's not, Mortal Kombat's not the kind of brand that's going to be ruined by weird things like that, they're different. Battlefield or Call of Duty and that are different franchises. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily take Mortal Kombat very seriously. Like I would want to know what happens in the story, but like it's not gonna. I don't know. It's not gonna like ruin the premise of a Mortal Kombat game for me to like learn some tidbits beforehand.
But are those guys dead or not? Oh, did anyone play Mortal Kombat?
I did. Man, I loved that story mode.
Everybody dies.
Yeah.
Or a ton of people die.
A lot of people die.
So I wonder
I
if they're
think
gonna...
Johnny Cage makes it. Isn't he one of the survivors? Is Johnny Cage? I think I was really
maybe.
pulling for him. He's a funny douche in that game. Good game.
I think the big thing would be is if it had a very unusual premise. If it was kind of like what Battlefield's doing, where like this is not your typical Mortal Kombat game. If something like that got out beforehand, and we were all able to kind of like not like it, and then like later they come in, no, you guys misunderstood it. Here's actually what it is.
Sure.
And then
Actually,
that
that
could
does
make
make sense
us
to
not
me.
excited. But if
Yeah.
it's just another, if it's I want it to be Mortal Kombat 2. Because Mortal Kombat 2 was way better than Mortal Kombat 1, right? Was Mortal Kombat 2 like an amazing revelation and like one of the best Mortal Kombat
I mean,
games ever?
one like playing Mortal Kombat 1 is like super basic.
Yeah.
It's really basic. Mortal Kombat 2 is when they started to kind of make it, more of an actual fighting game.
So I think just to play on that legacy of that Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
So what do you
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
like revisiting that time and the weird messed up Mortal
Just kinda,
Kombat
yeah.
timeline with the Baraka people and the whatever.
Just make references to Mortal Kombat 2.
I think story-wise, they've already gone through the Mortal Kombat 2 stuff in Mortal Kombat, the remake, actually. Man, I don't want to get into Mortal Kombat
Isn't
lore.
there-
It
there's
is
some
a
weird
mess.
timeline stuff.
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end, yeah.
They did
It's
a
hard
real
to-
cool reset.
hard
They
to sort it
basically
out.
did Days of Future Past
Right.
within Mortal Kombat, which is so cool. Man, I loved that game.
The screenwriters probably played Mortal Kombat and they're like, oh, no.
Oh, yeah, we gotta try that. We gotta give that a shot. To me, putting a story mode in a fighting game, just like that's so like that adds value to it to me. And like that's
Yeah.
very like I feel like Justin, you like fighting games a lot. You don't care for a story mode normally, right?
Well, I mean, MK9 did. It's really good that they did that. That's a real strength in the game, and we gave that a pretty high score. Everyone liked it, and the story mode's a big part of it. Like having a great game that's fun to play with another person that's balanced, as variety. Some technical stuff to it. I think they did it. They struck a good balance.
Yeah,
and
I
they threw
feel
in
like
a
I
bunch
should-
of extra stuff, and
I
the
should-
extras in the story. I
oh, the
think
extras
they
in
do
that
matter.
are great too.
Yeah.
I feel like I should explain it to anyone who didn't check that out. The story mode in Mortal Kombat is basically you're following the characters. You don't choose a character at the beginning and follow like arcade mode. It's like telling a big long story, and you're playing as each characters, and you're in unique scenarios, and you're all leading up to this thing. And there's stupid cutscenes with stupid dialogue, but it's all part of what Mortal Kombat is. Oh man, I could gush. I could gush and gush for hours. I'm really excited by anything Ed Boon tweets. He knows what he's doing. He's the funniest about it. He's just like, oh well, I have a cute little tweet today. He tweeted a picture of a car that said MKX on the back. This would be the 10th Mortal Kombat game. He knows what he's doing. I love that. I really love what he's
Could be.
doing.
We'll hear something about new Mortal Kombat at E3. Maybe.
We absolutely
Maybe.
will, and
Yes.
I think it could take it. I think it
Right.
could really show well at E3 a new Mortal Kombat game. I'd be so excited. Moving on, a really funny thing was announced recently with the June PlayStation Plus lineup that Sony announced. A couple of changes. Biggest one, you will get 2 PlayStation 3 games and 2 PlayStation 4 games for free every month, as opposed to 1 PlayStation 4 game. Do we think this is a direct reaction to what
Yeah.
Xbox has
This
just
is like
announced?
sitting at a poker table. Like, all right, I'll raise you.
Sitting at a poker, exactly. Yeah, I think it is that, and to me, that's putting up a lot, especially when the PlayStation 4 one's been kind of dry this past, since it launched.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even with the extra games, like, there's nothing there that I, like, oh, I got to download that, so. But yeah, it's definitely it feels like that. It's like, well, we're going to keep doing you one better. So
Yeah.
good try
Fight,
trying
fight,
to keep
fight.
up.
I mean, when people say like, "Oh, well, competition's good," normally it
Yeah.
just seems like a thing they say. But in this case, it really did turn out to be a good thing, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think this would have happened if Microsoft hadn't done that. It would be hard for me to believe that.
I don't know if this is because I'm getting older or it's because I've been doing games journalism so long that I'm actually kind of thinking like a games journalist now. Because I've always just been like a video editor, that's always been my stance.
So
sometimes my head swims on the show where I'm just like, wow, I don't know who you're talking about. Wow, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I don't know if I've ever seen this kind of give and take, more just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and not like I'm still kind of just cracking up from the whole removing the Kinect thing. because that was like the first thing that everybody said like right after that win. It's like, oh, they should just get rid of the Kinect.
Yeah.
They clearly were like, okay, and just like brought up the calendar, like flip. I'm like, let's do that in May. And so they just like checked it on the calendar and then just like wrote what they were going to say in all their interviews for people that asked them about it. Well, we're thinking about it, but we don't know. We'll let you know if we make more decisions in the future. It's like, it's so
think
hilarious.
It was that? You think it's that
a
far in
really
advance?
long,
and not
boring
like, I
poker
guess we
match.
have to eat this loss. I guess we have to give up on our promise of connecting.
Yeah,
Do you really think they
I
decided
think they did
so
make
easily?
that decision pretty
I
far
think
in
that's
advance.
just the way it feels to me.
That's sad.
Wait, how
that's
do you feel about it,
sad.
Justin?
The launch of that, huh?
How do you feel about it?
About what?
Yeah,
about
you weren't
the fact
here
that
for the
it's
whole episode. Yeah, what do you think about that?
Oh, I mean, it seems like a natural thing to happen.
No, you
know,
just
was
said it was
working out?
sad. I just heard the word sad. What do
It's
you
sad
mean?
for them that they bet so big on it and then it didn't pay off.
Sure, absolutely.
And other people that are interested in developing or playing this type of games, it's like, well, it's honestly, I kind of expected that to happen. I kind of thought motion controls were pretty much over before, when they were still pushing out the Kinect and pushing out the PlayStation Move. But yeah, it's seems like a pretty natural course of events to me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and Kinect is not dead. You can
But
still
too bad they
buy
didn't
it.
focus differently when they the launch of the Xbox One. I wish they would have focused on some different things maybe, or did things a little differently.
All right, Justin, we have time. You're the boss of Xbox. What do you wish they focused on?
Oh, it's not for me to say. I just wish that they would have, it would have been better for them as a company if they would have had a lower price, coming out of the gate, spent that money somewhere else, done something else with it. I don't know.
Yeah,
And of course,
no.
they had to flip their position on everything. It's just, I don't think it's a bad system.
I think they started looking at, can we cut the Kinect like launch, like after launch.
Wow.
I bet honestly,
Yeah.
I bet it was that early. Like, can we feasibly do this?
Yeah.
I'm with Brandon on that one.
I think they just have a briefcase somewhere with a bunch of just index cards. It's like, we could do that, like and they're just waiting.
They're poker
It's
cards.
not-
It's like what we're
Yes,
saying.
it's
Yeah,
not a
there's-
decision of just like, what should we do? It's like, okay, we'll do, like number 12. Just like, all right, number 12, get rid of Kinect.
Who's this guy? Number 12.
What else have they got in there?
It's
I'm
like-
curious about those other cards.
No, it's like when they call for, it's like Code V, at the theme park. Like, Code V, Code V.
No, what is Code V? What is that?
Vomit.
Oh, whoa, that's a
Code
thing.
V, they don't want to say like somebody threw up in the,
Yeah.
aisle 4.
Code V.
Code V.
So yeah, that's there. Whereas like all the like early
Code V level
Sony
5.
employees are like,
Level
what's
5 Code
what's
V?
a number 12? I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
Just gotta be secret about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They buy Crash Bandicoot.
Lots of people
That's
are
what
vomiting at
they're
Microsoft. Right
So
now.
much
That's what I'm trying to
vomit.
say. They're cleaning up lots of bile at Microsoft.
And then lastly, I want to talk about something that Bloodworth just showed me this morning. So, Nintendo is actually going huge with Smash Bros. At E3. It's becoming more and more apparent. They had their announced video about the tournament today that showed who will be in it, who's coming, who's going to commentate. Big deal. The tournament's going to be a big deal. But then at the end, they show an adapter for the Wii U where you can use 4 GameCube controllers on your Wii U. Blood, how excited for that are you?
I think it's great because, number one, like there's just a lot of people that like swear by that controller.
Yeah.
But then it also kind of alleviates me in terms of like the backwards compatibility, because like you have that whole like transfer process from the Wii to the Wii U. And I was like, man, there's like these games that I use GameCube controllers on. Like, I don't think I want to transfer all my save files and everything over because I have to do it all at one time. But now it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I can actually make the transfer now and put all my stuff on one system.
This is a thing I thought would never happen and then just suddenly did happen. I'm still just flabbergasted that this is a thing that exists.
Yeah. But I would love to see this,
Nintendo does weird stuff.
I would
don't
love
they?
to see this happen
Sometimes
with,
they'll just
like-
do some weird stuff.
for virtual console, like, yep, here's the NES adapter, here's the Super NES adapter, just have a bunch of them.
Yeah, why stop there?
Oh man, SNES controllers would be so great.
I mean, I think the reason this thing does exist is for Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
They even showed it with a cool little Smash Brothers emblem on the GameCube controller. It looks awesome. It looks so cool. But I think that was the force that made this thing exist. But it would be nice for this to open more doors to just hey, why don't you make nice things that your fans will clearly buy?
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing, too, is that I don't think the Pro Controller is inadequate or anything for Smash Bros. So it's kind of funny. It's not a necessary thing. It's just something that they know that, the fans are all totally, into Melee. That's where, the hype was at its highest. And, let's bring that back to the fans.
Could lead to a very cool E3. Anyway, that is our time for news. It's time for our bet. We have to make a bet about Mario Kart 8 because that is coming out, and I'm really excited about it. So a funny thing that Nintendo does on its eShop is that when you look at a game and you look at the reviews, it has like this meter. The two ends of this meter are casual and intense. And so when somebody reviews the game, they say, I think it's casual and I think this is intense.
Really?
Yeah. So
Is there an in-between, or is it just either or?
you can only pick a game as casual or
Pick a side,
intense.
Blood.
So
Are you one of those casuals?
currently,
One of us.
currently Mario Kart 8 stands at 46% casual, 54% intense. At the time of recording
Why?
next week, a lot more people will have reviewed this game because it'll actually have been out. What will the casual percentage of Mario Kart 8 be? Brandon?
41%.
Oh, okay. Man, you did this like so confident. So I think it's going to go up. I think more people are going to say it's casual. Dang. 48%. Justin, you were betting for Damiani. So let that weigh on your shoulders.
Wow. 73%
Damiani
No,
made
I'm
it
just kidding. It's not gonna, honestly, that's interesting where it is now. I think that really speaks to the elegance of their design. People are like, oh, this is it's a casual game. Or, I know I'm hardcore into
Yeah,
this.
it is
and you're
crazy
wrong.
it's even that close. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, I'd call it a flat 50. That's what
Flat
it'll
50.
Stabilization.
Sure. And Bloodworth.
Oh, man. I guess I'd go down. I'll go down to 38.
Ooh, 38. You really undercut Brandon there. You boned him.
No, but I think I'm still.
You're betting like this is for the casualness.
Yeah,
If
the
it stays
casualness.
the same.
I think that
Yeah.
of the people that are gonna be buying it in the next week, they're probably gonna see casual as like a dirty word.
Yeah, you're right. No, you did some good math behind your bet, Bloodworth. Always does.
I'm gonna be so-
We have, for last week's bet, we have our first judgment call. And I think actually Justin should make it because he's really got no horse in this race. So and it's
know
not
if I'm
between two
knowledgeable
people.
anymore.
Yeah, so what
I'd
we,
point to
one of them,
Brandon
right?
too because I wasn't here to make the bet. So
we had a really fun bet last
Looks
week.
like it's Brandon, Kyle.
Last week we were
Decision
betting
made.
on Game Informer's review of Watch Dogs and
Okay.
how many times the words but, however, and although would appear in the review.
okay.
Oh yeah, mine was way too high.
Justin, here's our judgment call. Does this part of the review, the Game Informer review, where they do concept, graphics, sound, playability, entertainment, and replay, does that count as part of the written review? Because it does factor into who wins the bet.
Can I examine the
Yes, you
evidence
may.
for a second?
It's not lifted directly from the language of the review. It is unique language.
I think if it were pullouts from the review, I wouldn't count it. But I think
Mm-hmm.
since it's right here in this, technically, I think it should count.
Okay, that is very interesting. Thank you for your judgment call.
Is there sound effects for that?
There isn't. Oh, but there is for locking in the bets. I forgot to lock in our bets. They're still locked in. We got them. We got them locked in.
They almost got on.
So that means that there are 9 buts in this review. 3 of them appear in that little subsection. There are 3 howevers, and Damiani was right. There are 0 all those. So that means that for the first time in GT Time history, Brandon Jones wins a bet.
Yeah.
Thanks to Justin Spear.
Thanks to Justin Spear. Thanks to his judgment call. Yeah. Great judgment call. Yeah, I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I think that was the way to go. Otherwise, I would have run the bet. A lot of butts in that review. Lots of butts in it. And actually, for fun, I looked at Blood's review. Are we curious about the butt rundown for
Sure.
that one? Blood had
rundown.
5 butts, 2 howevers, and 1 although.
He has way more words total, though, I believe.
Yeah. No,
So he has a
Blood puts a lot
his
of
butt
butts.
percentage is a lot smaller.
And what's really funny about the Bloodworth's butts is they all appear in the second half of the review. I don't know if that's part of like your formatting, but you start getting to your butts in like the second half of your review. Brandon, how's it feel to finally win a bet?
It hasn't really sunk in yet. You know? In about half an hour, I'm going to be eating a sandwich, and then it's just really, all of a sudden, just going to kind of come in. I like how Mike was clapping from off screen.
Yeah. We all wanted this for you. So, as winner of the bets, you get to plug any video on our website, or apparently any not on our website as well, and then close us out.
Right. I'm selfishly going to plug one that's on our website. Today I'm finishing up a Trailer Academy, which I haven't done one of those in a while, and it's going to be how to make an E3 trailer.
That's such a good
So
idea.
I'm speaking to the viewer as if they are a trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm asking questions like, are you CG? Are you for a game that's been announced before? Are you going to be released before the next E3? And then
Here's
talking
how to
about,
do it.
if that's if
like
that's you, if you're a trailer and that's you,
It's like the I'm just a Bill, but I'm just a trailer.
exactly.
Yeah,
Just
that's
a
an
poor,
awesome,
just a
that's a
poor
cool
trailer,
episode.
terrified right before E3, lost in the great big world. So I'm finishing that today. That'll go up today or first thing tomorrow.
Cool. We'll put a link in the description.
And these are all of our Twitter handles. And be sure to leave comments. We love comments. Thank you so much for watching the show. And follow us on Twitter, Game Trailers. Follow this guy and give him advice for the show because he needs it. And thank you, Justin, for filling in. When will we
pleasure.
get a full crew? Next week? Are we back?
Well, who knows? Damiani
GT
could
Con
cancel
next week?
us at any moment. But we'll be back next week.
But we're
sure.
scheduled. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. See you then.
Good episode.
I love the Xbox. Box.